Welcome to the EHR 101 training. This basic overview training is suitable for all staff, interns, and providers who will be using the electronic health record system. Let's get started. Here are the topics we are going to cover in this training. We'll talk about why the conversion is important to the university. We'll provide you with a high-level, end-to-end overview of the clinic process and see what's changing and what's not. And we'll explore some of the basic components of GE Centricity. You may be asking why we are converting to a new electronic health record, or EHR system. There are several reasons for that. The first reason is that there are several issues with our current EHR system, BackChart. The BackChart interface is unstable and has a tendency to go down several times a week and requires close monitoring. The technology it is built on is Adobe Flash, which is no longer supported by Mozilla Firefox or Chrome because of security concerns. While it does work with Internet Explorer, we're not sure for how long into the future that will be the case. It supports only ICD-9 codes. BackChart announced earlier this year that the system is not now and will not be in the future meaningful use compliant, and it also lacks robust reporting extract functionality. The second reason we need to convert to a new EHR system is that all facilities that fall under HIPAA regulations must start using ICD-10 codes by October 1, 2015. Another reason for conversion is that we would like to strengthen our ability to track and report on our outcome measures. And lastly, if we pursue meaningful use, we have a January 1, 2016 deadline for implementing both a compliant EHR system and a patient portal. Our solution for addressing these objectives is to leverage our existing GE Centricity system, which is currently used for scheduling and billing, and implement the EHR chart functionality. Our go-live date is planned for Tuesday, August 25th. Before diving into the details of Centricity, we're going to take a high-level overview of the end-to-end clinic process. This is meant to give you the 50,000-foot view of what is happening, similar to when you look at Google Maps. If you zoom in too closely, without understanding what city, state, or even country you are in, it's hard to get your bearings. In this section, we'll start broad and then get into just a bit of detail for each major part of the process. The main components of the end-to-end clinic process, both today and when we go live, are this. The patient comes in and checks in with the front desk. Then the patient goes to an exam room and receives an examination and treatment from a provider. Then the patient goes up to the front desk to check out, and then ultimately billing processes the payments. So the high-level process stays the same. However, at least a couple of things regarding how each group does their part and what system they will use to process a step will change with the new system. Those changes are highlighted in red on this slide. Now let's take a closer look at each one of those four areas. Here's a closer look at the check-in process. The front desk greets the patient and has them fill out the applicable paper intake and outcome measure forms. A new step for the front desk is that rather than manually adding up the paper outcome measure forms and writing down the total score for the provider, they will instead open the patient's chart and enter the patient's answers for the provider to review and sign. Paper fee tickets will still be used at the time of go live, so the front desk will still have those printed and ready for the provider. You'll notice that this slide has a few items highlighted in red indicating a change in how something is processed. Let's review the provider steps. The intern or provider will come up to the front desk to greet the patient and pick up the paper fee ticket and any paper forms that require signatures. Once in the exam room, the provider will log into the patient's chart and review the outcome measures document that was entered by the front desk. Once they have reviewed the information with the patient, the provider will sign the document in the patient's chart. The provider will also open up their own encounter, which generates SOAP notes and billing charges, and update as they evaluate the patient. Something that remains the same as the current process is that the provider will continue to describe the exam, treatment, and any fees to the patient and have the patient sign the paper informed consent and any applicable non-covered services or ABN forms, as well as the paper fee ticket. Providers will then sign their orders, which generate billing charges, and sign their notes. Finally, they will bring the patient, along with the signed paperwork and fee ticket, back up to the front desk.
At Go Live, the checkout process for the front desk will be very similar to the way it is today. The differences are that scanned documents will be completed using the new document management application, and a copy of the non-covered services, or ABN, is attached to the paper fee ticket for billing, if applicable. They will continue to schedule follow-up appointments and process payments in daily batches as they do today. Billing is responsible for reconciling paper fee tickets with assigned orders, reviewing and adjusting diagnosis codes as necessary for insurance purposes, entering payments into patient accounts, and handling billing inquiries. We are going to take a look at these three areas: chart desktop, chart or patient chart, and documents.
We'll start by exploring the chart desktop, which is available in the left-hand navigation. The chart desktop is a summary screen or personal homepage for the logged-in user. Though there are several options available for you to explore on the left navigation, such as alerts and flags, documents, file attachments, fax status, and more, we're going to begin our tour with the summary view. From here, you can see your daily appointment schedule, documents that you need to review and may require action on your part, and alerts and flags that may be of interest. The top ribbon also provides you with options to frequently used actions, such as looking up a specific patient or looking at your most recently visited patient charts. Providers can easily complete orders from this location, and all users can create or view flags and alerts. Before we go into more navigation details, let's define what alerts and flags are. Take a moment to read through the definitions of flags, care alerts, and pop-ups. When you're done, continue to the next slide. Now let's take a look at the charts section of Centricity. First, we'll need to look up a patient. To find a specific patient, click the Find Patient button on the ribbon. The Find Patient window will appear on your screen. Go to the field labeled Search For. Type in the patient's name beginning with their last name, followed by a comma, and then their first name. Then click Search or press the Enter key on your keyboard. You can also type in just the first few letters of the patient's last name. When the search results have loaded, double-click the patient's name to bring up their chart. The patient's chart is now loaded. Now let's move on to an overview of the chart section of Centricity. You are now viewing a patient's chart. When you first pull up a patient's chart, you are brought to the chart summary view. The patient's information is displayed below the ribbon, and you'll find details such as name, age, date of birth, phone number, responsible provider, patient ID number, insurance type, and group. The top ribbon is a little different in the chart area than it is in the chart desktop. A couple differences you may want to note is the presence of the phone note and the chart summary buttons. Phone notes are a way to document a patient who calls in with a question for the provider who isn't available at the time. You can input the details of the patient's question into the phone note, route it to the provider, and the provider can respond back. The phone note is then a permanent part of the patient's chart. The left navigation is similar to the chart desktop in that there are several menu items for you to choose. The options you see in the left navigation under the summary header are a mirror image of what you see in the main window: problems, medications, allergies, directives, and alerts and flags. To open or maximize any one of the summary windows that appears in the main window, click the corresponding item in the left navigation or click the Maximize button. The left navigation is also where you will start a new document and edit any open documents. Documents is a broad term that applies to encounters, forms, attachments, and other types of communication. It is in this section that outcome measures will be entered by the front desk and where providers will review and sign them. It is also where providers will go to start their own patient visit encounter. We're now going to take a closer look at the Problems section. Problems is one of the windows displayed on the patient's chart summary. Any problems or diagnoses from previous visits will be viewable in the Problems section. If the patient is new, this section will be blank. Providers and interns can add new problems in this section as they take a patient's history. To add a problem, click the green plus sign. The new problem window will appear. In the Search For field, begin typing in a keyword or an ICD-9 or ICD-10 code, but do not press Enter on your keyboard. A list of possible matches will appear beneath the field. Select the appropriate problem or diagnosis. In the comments box, type in a note if this was a previous diagnosis and/or is being managed by the patient's primary care provider. These comments are displayed in the chart summary. Change the onset date if needed, and add an end date and duration if known or applicable. Click OK to complete the entry of problems, or click Save and Continue to enter another problem. The problem is now visible in the problem window along with any comments that were entered, as well as the ICD-9 and 10 codes and the onset and end dates. The Enter Search Text field in the Problems window lets you do a quick add of a problem. Type in a keyword or ICD-9 or 10 code, but do not press the Enter key on your keyboard. As soon as the option is selected, it is added to the problems list. The onset date defaults to today. Review that information and edit it if needed. It is a best practice to edit the problem by clicking the green pencil icon and adding a comment if the problem is being managed by a provider outside of our clinics. To remove a problem, highlight it and click the red X icon. You are required to select a reason for removal. Click the drop-down arrow to see the options. Select the appropriate reason from the list and then click OK. The problem has now been removed from the Problems window. We'll now move on to the Medication section. Medications is one of the windows displayed on the patient's chart summary. Any medications noted during previous visits will be viewable in the Medication section. If the patient is new, this section will be blank. Providers and interns can add new medications in this section as they take a patient's history or as they refer to the intake forms of a new or readmitted patient. To add a medication, click the green plus sign. The new medication window will appear. Click the Reference List button. The reference list includes all of the pharmacy and over-the-counter medications within limits. It does not include any of our private brands that we sell in the retail sections. The Find Medication window will appear. In the Search For field, begin typing in the name of the medication and click Search. From the search results screen, select the appropriate dose and click OK or double-click on it. Back in the new medication window, go to the instructions box and provide information such as patient history or managed by primary care provider. In the prescribing method field, click the drop-down arrow and select historical. Click OK to complete the entry of medications, or click Save and Continue to enter another medication. The medication, including the instructions, are now visible in the Medications window of the Patient Chart Summary screen. To remove a medication, highlight it and click the red X icon. You are required to select a reason for removal. Click the drop-down arrow to see the options. Then select the appropriate reason from the list and then click OK. The medication has now been removed from the Medications window. Next up is the Allergies section. Allergies is another one of the windows displayed on the patient's chart summary. Any allergies noted during previous visits will be viewable in this section. If the patient is new, this section will be blank. Providers and interns can add new allergies in this section at any time, such as when they take patient history or as they refer to the intake forms of a new or readmitted patient. To add an allergy, click the green plus sign. The new allergy or adverse reaction window will appear. In the Custom List field, click the drop-down arrow and select an allergy type. In the Classification row, click the radio button that corresponds to the allergy type you chose in the Custom List field. In the Substance field, click the drop-down arrow to see the options of the most common allergies. If the patient's allergy is listed, select it. If it's not there, you may free text it into the Substance field at any time. In the Criticality section, click the radio button that describes the patient's reaction to the substance, if known. In the Reaction field, describe the patient's reaction. Change the onset date if needed. Click OK if you are done entering allergies, or click Save and Continue to enter another. The allergy and reaction are now viewable in the Allergy section of the chart summary window. To remove an allergy, highlight it and click the red X icon. You are required to select a reason for removal. Click the drop-down arrow to see the options. Select the appropriate reason from the list and then click OK. The allergy and reaction have been removed from the Allergy section. The Directives section of the patient chart summary enables providers to quickly add directives such as informed consent, non-covered services, ABN, HIPAA, etc. Adding the information in this section makes reviewing this information on subsequent patient visits much faster and easier without having to search through a whole list of documents. Directives is another one of the windows displayed on the patient's chart summary. To add a directive, click the green plus sign. The new directive window appears. In the description field, click the drop-down arrow to view a list of predefined options. Select the applicable directive from the list or free text one into the description field. Update the start date if needed. Click OK if you are done entering directives, or click Save and Continue to add another. The directive, along with the start date, are viewable in the Directives section of the chart summary window. To remove a directive, highlight it and click the red X icon. You are required to select a reason for removal. Click the drop-down arrow to see the options. Select the appropriate reason from the list, and then click OK. The directive has been removed from the chart. The final section that appears in the chart summary window is Alerts and Flags. Alerts and flags in Centricity have two primary purposes. Number one, it can relay brief patient-related information. In other words, general information about the patient visit, or the patient's medical care. In this category, the alert or flag is associated to the patient's chart. The second grouping is a professional communication tool between providers, interns, and clinical staff. In this scenario, flags are used, and the flag may not be associated to a patient chart if the communication does not concern a patient. For the purposes of this EHR 101 training session, we are going to provide an overview of just the first scenario of patient-related alerts and flags. A more in-depth training module is available on the usage of alerts and flags. There are many ways to get to alerts and flags in Centricity. From the chart, they are available in the ribbon, in the left navigation, and in the chart summary main window. From the chart desktop, they are available in the ribbon, in the left navigation, and in the Alerts and Flags section. Throughout Centricity, you can also access your alerts and flags by clicking on the envelope icon on the topmost toolbar. To create a flag on a patient chart, click the New Alert/Flag button on the ribbon. In the To User section, you can either leave it blank if this is a general note and not for a specific provider. If you want to send the communication to a specific user or users, you can click on the drop-down arrow to see a list of clinic providers and staff, alphabetized by last name. The people to whom you've sent alerts or flags to most recently are at the top of the list. You can select multiple recipients. You can also use the binoculars to search the directory. In the Properties section, select the priority. Normal is the default. Then select the type of communication, a flag, care alert, or pop-up alert. The start date defaults to today, but you can change it if needed. Typically, the expiration date is left blank. Leave the default of attaching this to the patient's chart. If you were in a patient's chart when you clicked on the New Alert Flag button, that patient's name will default in the patient's field. You can change it if needed. Override the subject with something similar to how you would use the subject line of an email. Type in your message. Then you can save this as a draft or click Send. In addition to the alert or flag being visible on the patient chart, it is displayed on the chart desktop of anyone to whom you address the communication. Note the difference in the icons. A care alert looks like a sticky note with a red plus sign. Flags, on the other hand, have an icon of just a sticky note. To review the communication, double-click on it. The View Alerts/Flags window will open. Similar to an email, you can create a new alert or flag from this window. You can open the alert or flag, and you can reply, forward, or remove it if you have finished reading it. Completing or removing a flag removes it from your chart desktop. Just remember that if you were working with a care alert, the care alert itself is still attached as a permanent part of the patient's chart because care alerts are medical care related. Let's take a closer look at the document section. If a document has a paperclip icon next to it, that means there's an attachment. Double-clicking on it will not open the attachment. Instead, you'll need to click the Attach button. The information you see in the preview pane at the bottom of the screen is the document properties information. Once you've clicked the Attach button, the attachment will open in a new window. For documents that do not have an attachment, you can use the preview pane at the bottom of the screen. However, if you are trying to read some documents, it causes you to do a lot of scrolling. You could click on the Expand icon and the document will open in a new window to make reading easier. After clicking the Expand button, the document will open in a new window. If a document is unsigned, there will be a pencil icon next to it, and the status column will show a status of something other than signed. If any documents are awaiting your signature, you will see them in your chart desktop area. In the next section, we will review how to create a new document or encounter. Each discipline has its own set of encounter types to choose from for each patient visit. For the sake of this demonstration, we will review the outcome measures encounter type that the front desk will be completing during the patient check-in process. While the front desk will initiate this document, providers will review it with the patient during the visit and then sign it. And while providers will not be completing this specific form themselves, the basic navigation and functionality is the same for all encounter types. Other training modules will cover the discipline-specific forms. After pulling up the patient chart, click the New Document button. The Update Chart window will open. Review the provider and ensure it displays the name of the provider the patient will be seeing for today's visit. Change it if needed. Then in the Encounter Type list, scroll down and select Outcome Measures. Double-click it or highlight it and click OK. The Outcome Measures encounter opens in a new window. There are a total of 4 forms in this encounter type. Navigate to the form or forms that the patient completed. As you enter the patient's answers into the form, the score is automatically totaled for you. If a patient chose to not answer a question on the paper form, leave it blank in the encounter form too. Only the questions that are answered are scored. To fill in the answers for another tool, use the left navigation or click the Next Form button. If you do not see the total score field on the form you are filling out, switch to the Text tab and you can find it there. The Text tab is the narrative note that is auto-generated based on the answers that are being filled out in the form's view. When you are done, click the End button in the upper right-hand corner. The End Update window appears. Ensure the provider name is correct, and then click the Hold Document button. For providers, if you are finished with your form, you can click the Sign Document button. The Outcome Measures document is now ready for the provider to review in the patient's chart. When the provider is ready, they will click the Edit button where they will be taken directly into the form. They will review the document with the patient, make any updates needed, and then follow the steps outlined in the previous section where they click the End button in the form and then click the Sign Document button. We have completed our tour of the 3 main components of the Centricity chart module. In closing, we are looking forward to having an EHR that is compliant with federal programs, is stable for our providers, interns, and staff, and can be expanded to include a patient portal. The 3 main areas of Centricity that we have covered in this training are Chart Desktop, which is the logged-in user's homepage. It contains the person's appointment schedule, documents to review or sign, and flags and alerts. We've also covered Charts, or Patient Chart, which has all the patient's information, including problems, medications, allergies, directives, and more, and the Documents area. We looked at how to view documents both with and without attachments, and how to start a new document encounter, and how to put it on hold or sign it. This is a large-scale effort that is impacting everyone in the clinics. Though our overall business of greeting patients and checking them in, treating them, checking them out after their appointment, and billing remains the same. Each group has at least a few things that they have to do differently. And with a variety of changes such as these, it is important to stay informed, stay patient, and assume best intentions as we all go through this learning process together. Thank you for watching this training. You are welcome to refer to this as often as needed. Additional training and job aid resources are available for discipline-specific forms, front desk and billing processes, logging into the new system, and more.